Hey guys, welcome back. If you want to see how I created this look, stay tuned. Today we are starting off with brows. I'm gonna go in with my Got To Be gel to make sure my brow hairs are in place. Next step, I'm gonna go in with my Kevyn Aucoin Sensual Skin Enhancer in the shade SX12. I'm gonna use that to clean the bottom part of my brows. And then I'm gonna go ahead and buff the concealer into my skin. This is a new step that I have included. I go in with a small brush and tap a bit of translucent powder on the concealer under my brow just to make sure that the concealer stays in place. You can adopt this technique if you like to clean up your brows before you actually fill them in. It just makes it a little less messier. So just a small brush and I just pat the powder into the concealer. I'm going in with my Juvia's Place Eye Sculpt Brow Pencil and I'm going to use that to fill in my brows. I also like to go in with the Juvia's Place brow pen and I'm going to use that to draw hair-like strokes in my brows. This is just an extra step. You can choose to skip this. It's completely unnecessary. I just enjoy doing this step. Now I'm going in with my foundation for today, which is the Huda Beauty Full Filter Foundation. And I'm going in with just a tiny bit on my flat brush to clean up the top part of my brow to make sure that it's nice and clean. For full glam days, I like to make sure that I'm going all the way just to clean up everything and make sure everything is appearing seamless. Some days I clean the top part of my brows, some days I don't. I'm also just going ahead to buff the foundation into my skin with my brush from Real Techniques. I'm going in to do my eyeshadow. I'm going to prime my eyelids with my Too Faced Born This Way concealer in the shade Butterscotch. And I'm going to go ahead and buff it onto my eyelids to make sure that I have a clean canvas to begin with, just to make sure all the discoloration is covered up and to make sure that my eyeshadow pops. After I use my sponge to blend it out, I go in with my setting brush and a little bit of setting powder, just a light layer to set the concealer in place. I'm going into my Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette, and I went in with that taupey mauve color, and I'm just tapping that onto the outer portions of my eyelids, and I'm gonna just keep patting it and blending it up into my crease and then fanning it out to make sure the eyeshadow is appearing wing-like. I hope this makes sense. Now I'm going in with my two lid colors. I'm going in with the darker, it's giving hues of pink and gold, so I'm just putting that on the center of my eyelid, and I'm creating a full cut crease. I'm just making it look like I have a bigger eyelid space, but really I don't. I just like to do this step. It just makes my eyeshadow look a little bit more dramatic than it actually is. Now I'm going in with the lighter gold shade. It's giving gold and pink hues, and I really like that for the beginning part of my eyelid so that it's giving a bit of a gradient. So I'm putting that to the closest innermost corners of my eyes, and again I'm creating the full eyelid space. Also, I'm going in with a matte black from my Ultra eyeshadow palette from Nuban Beauty, and I'm using that to create a wing. For primer today, I'm using the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. Yeah, you guessed it. I always like to use my Milk Primer. It's an amazing primer, and I'm just putting that all over my skin. I was waiting for my eyelashes to dry at this point in time, so I was just, starting with my base while I waited. Look at that grip. So for foundation, I already mentioned I'm using one from Huda Beauty in the shade Cinnamon. I'm gonna put that all over my skin and spread it out with my fingers just to warm it up, and I'm gonna buff it into my skin with my Real Techniques buffing brush. This foundation tends to look a little yellow on me, but I'm gonna fix that as I apply concealer and contour and whatnot. But I'm going into with my damp beauty blender to blend out my makeup and to make sure that I'm picking up any excesses. And now my eyelashes were tacky, so I went ahead to apply them onto my eyelids. Getting into highlighting, I'm going back in with the Too Faced Born This Way Multi-Use Sculpting Concealer in the shade Butterscotch. I'm putting that under my eyes, the mustache area, my chin, the bridge of my nose, and the center of my forehead. While I let that sit, I'm gonna go in with my Huda Beauty Tanto Cream Bronzer in the shade Medium, and I'm gonna put that on the hollows of my cheekbones, rather on my cheekbones in my case. I like to put it up than the usual places that everybody else puts it. I'm also putting that on my forehead and temples, and I'm gonna go ahead and buff that into my skin. I'm using my Tall Light brush from Evita Joseph. As you can see, I am dragging the contour into my hairline, and what is left on my brush, I am going to put that on my chin. I don't like to go in directly with product on my chin because it tends to look muddy on me. By all means, go ahead and do that if that works for you, but I like to use what's left on my brush. As you can see, I didn't go back with any product. I just kept using my brush to go back onto my chin. Now I'm going in with my Color Box Cosmetics brush, and I'm using that to buff out my concealer with soft tapping motions. I also went back in with my sponge to pick up any excesses, especially under my eye area, and to make sure everything is looking nice and seamless. And I'm going all over my face with the sponge just to make sure everything is looking seamless. Now I'm going in with the second concealer. Feel free to skip this step. This is the e.l.f. Camo concealer in the shade medium neutral. I am putting that just underneath my eyes, and I'm gonna let that sit while I apply my blush from Danessa Myricks in the shade Freedom. This is the Color Fix Matte. You can use it on your eyelids, on your face, on your lips. It's an amazing cream blush for me. I am buffing it out with my e.l.f. blush brush, and it just gives a really nice pink color. I haven't used a straight up pink blush in a while, and I really enjoyed using this one. It dries fast though, so you need to work fast, otherwise it's gonna appear patchy. Now I'm going in with my sponge to blend my under eye area. As you guys know, I like a bright under eye. If you do like a bright under eye, you can feel free to adopt this technique. It just works for me. I really love how it does, and it just looks so seamless.
Makes sense, not the ganga.
Going back in with my foundation brush, I am buffing the edges of my under eye area just to make sure there's a nice transition going on. And I'm going back in to apply my nose contour, which is the same medium Tanto cream bronzer I use from HUDA, and I am buffing it into my skin with my brush from Morphe. I am making sure that the edges are like looking really nice. I also ended up going back in with my sponge just to pick up any excesses and do some extra blending. To set my under eye on days that I'm doing a bright under eye, I go in with a bright pressed powder. I'm using one from Charlotte Tilbury. I believe this is in the shade Tan 2, the Flawless finish pressed powder, and I'm using my powder puff and I'm pushing that under my eyes to lightly set the concealer over there. This just gave me like an extremely seamless beat. Like look at that. Look at that. I need to find, oh, I found a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury pressed powder. It's the Maybelline Superstay Full Coverage pressed powder. It's an amazing powder to set the under eye area. So if you can't afford the Charlotte Tilbury, you can go ahead and get the Maybelline Superstay Full Coverage pressed powder. Now I'm setting the rest of my face with my Huda Beauty powder in the shade Banana Bread. I'm just pushing that into wherever I applied concealer to make sure that the area is nice and set. For the rest of my face, you guessed it, I'm going in with the LA Pro Pressed Powder. I love this powder. It's an amazing powder. It just sets everything in place, and it's a matte powder. If you're an oily girl, go ahead and grab this powder. I'm setting it with my Real Techniques powder brush just to make sure everything is nice and set. And I'm going in with my Tilbury airbrush bronzer. I'm using that to go over where I applied my cream contour earlier, my cream bronzer, earlier. So bronzing is more of a warmer, darker color, and contour or cream contour is more of a cool toned, darker product that you use to apply shadows on the face. As per the research that I did, that's what I found out. So just in case you are confused, so I'm using a little bit of powder to, bake lightly and to clean up the sides of the bridge of my nose and do some reverse contouring, just cleaning up and setting my smile lines with my powder puff. The best thing I've discovered is powder puff. It's an amazing thing. I remember I used to see my mom using it when I was growing up. I guess things are circling back. For powder blush, I'm using the one from Dior. This gives ashy, but if you use a cream blush before applying it on top, it looks absolutely breathtaking. It gives soft, girly, feminine vibes, and I really like it. I'm applying that onto the apples of my cheeks with my blush brush from Real Techniques, and I'm going in with my setting brush from Real Techniques to dust off any excess powder under my eyes. I'm going in with my light colored eyeshadow, the shimmer one. I'm putting that into my inner corners just to open up my eyes a bit. For setting spray, I am using the MAC Fix Plus just to melt everything together. For highlighter, I'm using Laura Mercier Light Catcher in the shade Honey Star. I forgot I own this. I forgot how amazing it looks. I'm going to show you guys something in just a sec. It's such a subtle highlight, and I think that it's going to last me 4 to 5 years. Because it's just too much product. Look at how it just gives a very soft glow. Can you guys tell? It is such a pretty highlight. Oh my god, wow. Anyway, yeah, it's a really pretty highlight. If you are my skin tone or slightly lighter, you can go ahead and get it, even though it's pricey in my opinion. So I'm using the Tilbury Lip Cheats lip liner. I've forgotten the shade. I might probably list it down below. So I'm using that to line the lips. And I'm going in with the Locs Beauty Company lip liner in the shade number 10. Just to go over and overline my lips. When I finished creating this look, I realized it was giving bridal makeup, in my opinion. So feel free to recreate this if you're going for a wedding, if you're a bride, if you want to just, recreate this look for date night or Eid, or feel free to just recreate this look, because in my opinion I felt like it was giving bridal, but I just really liked how it looked. For mascara, I'm going in with my Nuban Beauty Soro Soke. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it well, but yeah, it's a really amazing mascara, especially for the lower lash line. It just brings everything together. And for my lips, I'm using these two lip glosses from Locs Beauty in the shade Bare and Independent. Yeah, it just went with the eye look. I really love these lip glosses. They are amazing. So yeah, this is the end of the video. I don't know if you guys can tell the bridal look by now, but yeah, I really enjoyed creating this look. Do not forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Thank you for watching. Bye guys.